Welcome back to the channel. My name is Stephen Nguyen. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. So today I want to quickly go over how I underwrite multifamily deals. So these are 5+ units in about 2 to 5 minutes to know if the deal is worth jumping on. So okay, let's begin. So typically when an owner reaches out to me with an apartment complex or I'm looking on LoopNet for a deal, the first thing I want to do is get the T12 document, which is the profit and loss statement for the past 12 months. And on this T12 document, the two main things I'm looking at is number one, the gross rents for the year, and then I want to look at the expense ratio, right? So let's just say, and typically the expense ratio I assume is to be at least 50% or more if that's what's shown on the profit and loss statement. So for example, if the expense ratio is actually 55% of the gross rent, I will use 55. But if the expense ratio that I see on the P&L is, let's say, 30%, I'm going to assume and round it up to 50% because that's more accurate, right? I've owned 2 apartment complexes, a 20 unit, a 26 unit for about 3 years now, and I can show from my apartment that's about 50%. It is a good, safe bet, and it's easy to do math with 50%. So for example, if your gross rental income for the year is $120,000, and it's safe to assume that your expense is $60,000. And this is including, property management fee, the water, the trash bill for common area, any maintenance, repairs, any pest control, lawn care, if you have to, basically do anything for the property, right? I just blanked out right there for some reason, but like any insurance, property tax, attorneys if you need it, evictions, whatever that looks like, right? There's a lot of expenses. I don't break it down per each one. I just blanketly, it's about 50%, right? So if my gross rent is for a year is 120K, I'm going to assume 60K is my expense unless it states more. And why I share this 50% rule of thumb is because a lot of real estate brokers, remember, brokers will make you broke, right? I've always been that. And ironically, I want to become a real estate broker because the bar seems so low, to be honest. And basically, if I look at their P&L, they show like a 30% expense ratio. And I know that's not possible because when you take over the property, number one, your property tax is going to be higher when you buy at a higher price. Number two is the insurance that they usually buy is not replacement cost insurance. It's actual cost insurance, which isn't good insurance. It's cheaper insurance for a reason. So when you buy replacement cost insurance, it's going to cost a lot more, right? Typically, you want to get like, I think $100 to $150 per square foot, depending on your market. You can talk to your insurance broker, but you always want replacement cost insurance because if your apartment burned down to the ground, you'll have enough money to rebuild that apartment complex up to today's standards, right? Like for example, my 26 unit, I bought it for $500,000. You cannot rebuild a 26 unit apartment complex in 2024 for $500,000, right? There's no way that's possible. So that's why you need replacement cost insurance. And it helps you if something were to happen and I have enough money to rebuild it completely to 2024 standards. So, kind of sidetracked there, but that's why I can tell the P&L is being accurate or not. Like I literally saw this one P&L where the expense was like 20%, but it was missing so many things. It was missing the water bill, electricity bill, property tax, insurance. But when I saw the Schedule E, which is what people file their real estate income on to the IRS, it showed about 50% expense ratio. So I knew that's more realistic and more accurate. So moral of the story, expense ratio is 50%, right? And at that point, let's just say I have $120,000, $60,000 is my expense. I have $60,000 net operating income. So net operating income is income minus expense, right? So if the income is 120K, expense is 60K, my net operating income is $60,000. And let's divide that by 12 for simplicity. So that's $5,000 a month is my net operating income before my debt payment, right? So now at this point, I have my NOI. So now to evaluate the property, you just find the market cap rate, right? So let's just say it's a 10 cap market for simplicity. $60,000 is my NOI divided by a 10 cap. So you divide by 0.1% or 0.1. That's a $600,000 property valuation based on the net operating income divided by the market cap rate. So at that point, for me, I think the value is going to be about $600,000. So now for me, I like to leverage when I'm scaling or buying real estate. So I want 25% down, right? So what's 25% down of $600,000? That's going to be roughly 150K, not roughly, exactly 150K. So I put 150K down. I have a $450,000 loan, right? And now I need to calculate my monthly debt service, right? So let me grab my laptop here to crunch the numbers. So what I do is I literally Google mortgage calculator, right? Let me do this mortgage calculator. And so my loan amount, it's going to be, if I bought for $600,000 and I put 150K down, I have a 450K loan. And typically I get 30-year fixed loans on apartments. I know it's harder, but I've got it for 2. So, and then I'm going to assume my interest rate is 7.5%, which is about right for multifamily. So general rule of thumb and quick tip is if your interest rate is 7.5, your cap rate must always be higher than that. So if you have a 7.5% interest rate, it's hard for the lender to assume a cap rate below that, unfortunately, right? So typically the cap rate's gonna be like at least 8 to 10 cap. So I did 10 cap for simplicity. So now I have my monthly debt service, which is $3,100 a month. So remember, my NOI was $5,000 a month, assuming, and then now my monthly payment is $3,100 a month. So let's just make it $3,000 for simplicity. So I'm cash flowing $2,000 a month on this property, right? So now, if you want to calculate your cash on cash return, you take 2,000 times it by 12. That's $24,000. And how much money did I initially put into the property? I put in 150K. So now you take $24,000 and you divide that by 150K, and you get a 16% cash on cash return on the property, which seems like a pretty good deal, right? So keep in mind, yes, you cash flow $2,000, but know that this is being allocated towards reserves to repair things in the future because things will break, right? So it's really shadow cash flow that you save for a later day to play defense. But okay, just out the gate, if a property was truly, made an NOI of 120K, or sorry, gross rented 120K, income was 60K, NOI 60K, 10 cap market, which is higher cash flow. So value $600,000. I put 25% down. The loan is 450K, 30-year amortized, 7.5% interest rate. I'm going to cash flow $2,000 a month. Keep in mind that is say the reserves, but that's about 16% cash on cash return every single year, right? And that's just purely based on cash flow. So to me, I think that'd be a good deal to buy, right? And typically you would want so what lenders are looking at is you want your debt service coverage ratio to be 1.25. What does that mean in layman's terms? It means that your net operating income, so at $5,000, should be 25% higher than the monthly debt service payment. So you can work backwards, right, to figure out a purchase price for this property if the owner wants more than 600K, right? So what I do is I take $5,000 and I will times that by 0.75. So basically my max monthly debt service is about $3,700, right? So now this is where you kind of play math and look at your purchase price, look at your loan amount, and see what makes sense, right? So at 450K loan, which was a 600K purchase price, my monthly loan payment was $3,100. So now let's just keep on increasing this loan amount and see what price can make this property work. So right here, okay, so my loan amount of 550K. The monthly payment is $3,800. So it's a little bit too high. So let me go down to 520K. So here you go. At 520K loan amount, assuming 7.5% interest rate over 30 years, my monthly loan payment is $3,600. So that suffices. The 1.25 debt service coverage ratio of my NOI is $5,000 a month. And this is going to cash flow roughly about $1,400 a month, right? So now that I know my loan amount is 520K, what's that purchase price going to be, assuming 25% down? So now I'm going to take 520K and I'm going to divide it by 0.75. So at this point, it's roughly about $690,000 purchase price. So I know to make this deal work, my offer is going to be between 600,000 to about 690,000. So this is how I quickly underwrite deals to know what offer makes sense for me, right? And this is what makes sense for me. This is how I underwrite. So that's how I do it. I know I said this should be quick. I mean, I was explaining a lot of concepts, but once I've done it many times and my students done it many times, that's how fast I underwrite deals, right? I can look at a deal, look at the NOI, and look, okay, this, if like, let's just say based on my numbers, I know my offer price is 600,000 to about 700,000 and they want $1.2 million. I'm probably going to walk away from the deal, right? It doesn't make sense for me, right? I don't want to put a large down payment, right? I want to do a 25% down payment right now. So hopefully this gave you some context. Let me know if you have comments or questions below. If you're interested in joining the Making Multifamily Money Mentorship Program, check out the link down below. You can reach out directly to me via email if you want a discount code. And please like, comment, subscribe, share somebody who wants to buy their first apartment complex, and hope to see you next one. Thank you.